Hello and welcome back to another how to paint video. This time we're taking a look at another chapter of Space Marines. We're actually going to be doing Raptors this time. So of course I try to make this guy as kind of survivalish, Rambo-y as possible with a sweet little knife there. We're going to be jumping right in with our first base layer. This is going to be Abaddon Black. Thankfully I've already taken the minute or two to give it a good shake, so we don't have to worry about that. But as always, and we're using a somewhat decently small brush, number 2, to start this off. We're going to go ahead and make sure our paint is nice and thin. So I'm going to get ourselves a little bit of water on our brush. And I'll even show you on the palette here as we kind of go through this. That way you're not looking at nothing. Just nice and thin, and we'll try to get decent amount on our palette to start with. But going right into it, I always like to start at the legs, especially this kind of back of the leg area, because I know if I don't, it's one of those spots I tend to miss. There's this little crevice back here that really doesn't like to have paint on it, so I do like to take a little bit of an effort to get that first. And we will just gradually continue to paint the entirety of our model here with black. I was kind of debating a little bit on maybe doing gray, just because I'm not really sure, or I wasn't really sure at least, how dark I wanted it to be. But I think with the green that I'm using, black is a better of an undercoat, just to get kind of that darker, more kind of jungly vibe. So we'll try it out. If nothing else, we could just mix some white in when we're finished, but we'll get there. We will definitely cross that bridge once we get to it. And as always, every few brush strokes, I just like to get a little bit more water on our brush and keep mixing some more palettes, or some more paint on our palette. Not only to kind of clean our brush off and prevent paint from drying on it, but also to make sure we're staying pretty consistent with how thin our paint is. It's not the end of the world if you start applying it a little thick, but I like to generally avoid that sort of thing just to save myself the headache. And because I do mess up quite often, if you've seen any of my other videos you'll know, and having really nice thin layers makes that much easier to deal with. I'm able to go back and fix my mistakes multiple times before it really starts to become an issue. I was actually at the game store today trying to figure out some stuff I want to do for future projects, and I've really been looking at Tau for quite a while. I don't know why I really never got into them in the first place. I guess it's just one of those things that kind of got away from me, and I know the memes of like haha Tau bad, and I'm on board with that, but they do have some really cool battle suits. I really like the designs, and especially like their fire warriors and stuff. As I knock everything on my desk, good lord. I really have to do some rearranging here soon, but we won't worry about that. But I found they had this really big box, and I got super excited when I saw it, because all it said was, Tau Empire on the side. I was like, oh man, this is big old like Battle Force box. This is perfect if I'm starting out, and I want to get a lot of these models. And then I pull it off the shelf, and it's the Kroot hunting pack, which, don't get me wrong, Kroot are kind of cool, but come on. What a tease. What an absolute tease. I was hoping for just like a 30 battle suits or something. Just a ton of little like Firecast warriors. And instead it was just a bunch of Kroot. But I did manage to pick up the Tau Combat Patrol, the newer one, I think it is. It's got like 17 miniatures in it. It's pretty nice. Has like a little turret. It's got a bunch of those little drone guys, which I don't know if the drones are even like minis anymore, or you know what I mean, like units. I think they're just like scenery now, which is kind of annoying. I'm not sure. Whenever I look on like the GW website, I like look at the individual models. It says that they're minis, and that they are units, but then I look at like the Combat Patrol description, and it says that they're not. So I don't know. but I'm excited to put them together. I do have some Cadians as well that I have just recently assembled. I finally took them out of their box after a like half a year's worth of torment. They've been sitting in my pile of shame. So I think we'll be doing those next. I also have some other Space Marines that I want to do. I think our next one is going to be Salamanders, just because I've been talking about it forever and I still haven't done it. And then after that, I'm not really sure. I do want to paint Emperor's Children at some point. I've got a really nice purple I want to try out, and I like the Loyalist kind of color scheme that they do, so we're definitely going to do that. But that's kind of everything I got for the near future. As always, if you guys want to see anything in specific, drop it in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions, and of course I love painting new things, so it's definitely something I want to take a look at. I also have a ton of fantasy goblins to paint up. I picked up, I think it was like an Age of Sigmar box forever ago, and it had goblins and it had the gold dudes. I'm totally blanking on the names of them. Stormcast Eternal. And I already painted all these Stormcast dudes for the most part, so I can't really do anything with that. But I have like half a box worth of these goblins that I just have not touched. And I got like 5 new paints that are all just different shades of green, so I can do their skin. And I'm really excited to do that. I don't know when it's going to be. It might not be for a couple weeks if I continue with my like one video a day kind of thing. But at some point, I'm definitely excited to paint some goblins. I also still have some Skaven I have to do at some point. I've got a bunch of stuff, really, now that I think about it. I got a box of like old Ravenwing stuff a friend gave me. They're all Firstborn though, so that might be a little while. I don't really like Firstborn. But at some point I do want to paint more Dark Angels, so that kind of works out anyway. And I think that's kind of about it. I do have a Sisters of Battle squad somewhere, but they're kind of lost to the box of junk in my office. So I don't know if that'll ever be a thing we do, but I do like Sisters of Battle. I'm sure at some point we will paint some of those. Generally, though, that's pretty much it, I think. So yeah. Once again, if you have any ideas or you want to see something in specific, shout it out. And we got some weird angles here. I'm just trying to get the neck, so I apologize if it doesn't look great, but it is something we need to do. And as we kind of finish up with our first base layer here, we're going to be moving on to our next one. And this shouldn't really take us that long. I think it's probably going to be like a 2-part thing. Because we only have really 2 base coats we need to do, and then everything else is just kind of little detail work. Thankfully, there's no edge highlighting on this model, which is great. Saves us a little bit of time and effort. Because Raptors don't have like the shoulder trim thing, at least from what I could tell. I don't really know much about their Legion, honestly, or their chapter, I guess. Other than like they've almost all died multiple times, and they just keep coming back, which is kind of cool. Again, they're kind of like the Rambo of Space Marines. But yeah, generally they're a pretty easy color scheme, and I figured it was a kind of nice little relaxing thing we could do. Just before we get into some of the more complex stuff, like Cadians. I like Cadians, but good lord, they have so many little tiny details on their armor, and they're so small compared to like Primaris. They are absolutely tiny. I hate it. But I do have quite a few Cadians. I've got an entire army of them. I like them a lot, I won't lie. So I am still kind of excited to paint some of them once again. And lastly, we'll just kind of make sure we get this backpack here. It's not too crucial, but I do like kind of getting into every little nook and cranny that I can, so I don't miss anything. And this will help us kind of get one smooth, solid base coat when we move on to our green here in just a second. And we'll kind of call that good enough. I could really make sure I get every little, solid inch of the armor, but I do want to keep things moving. So, also, I didn't point it out, I don't think. That was Abaddon Black. Horribly sorry if I didn't. I'm so used to it now at this point. But we are moving on to our Death World Forest. I think this is kind of as close to Raptor's color I could get. I saw tons of greens, but I feel like this is kind of our best chance here. And I think with the black, it's going to give us kind of the closest shade. But maybe I'm wrong. So we'll find out, definitely. As always, make sure we really thin our paint down. And of course, I like to start with the legs, as always. And because we're painting onto kind of a darker color, we're probably going to need a couple of layers. At least 2, if we really want to make things look good. Maybe 3, just kind of depending on how thin we really get with our paint here. But we will find that out all in due time. And that's probably going to take us to the end of our video today. It's going to be just all of this base coating. Next time we will be doing all of the little tiny details. He's got like this little bullet on his thing. We're going to do the weapons, the backpack, the exhaust, all of that. So we have plenty to do. And I hope it's going to be a 2-parter. I don't want to drag this out too long, but who knows, maybe it'll stretch into 3 parts. Make sure we get right back into that little leg crevice there. Like I said before, it really is paint avert, so you want to really make an effort to get in there. Same thing with the underside. I feel like everything around the boots just generally doesn't like to take paint too well. There's just so many little cracks and crevices. So I like to really make sure we get in there and take care of that. And make sure you get behind the knee as well. That's kind of another one I miss a lot. I'm working on not missing as much in these videos as I usually do. Usually there's a solid couple spots that I won't get just because I kind of forget about it or they're hard to see. But I definitely want to rectify that going forward. So I'm doing my best. I should probably also shout out, because I do this every time, I feel like, because Humble Bundle has tons of Warhammer stuff. They've been doing a ton of Warhammer bundles recently for some reason. I think it's like Warhammer Day or something is their newest one. I don't really know. But they have a game bundle. And again, I'm not sponsored or anything. I just really like Humble Bundle, and I like Warhammer, so it kind of works out perfectly. It has, I don't think it has Rogue Trader. I think they did that like a month or 2 ago. But it does have the Battle Sector game, which if you like kind of strategy, like XCOM-esque, and you like Blood Angels, it's kind of a perfect combo for you. They also just added Tau. I think there's Sisters of Battle and Necrons as well, and of course Tyranids. A lot of it's pretty DLC intensive, so kind of watch out for that. But there is also a coupon in the bundle for, I think, the new Tau DLC. There's also Warhammer Inquisitor, I think is what it's called. It's kind of like a Diablo-esque, which I never really got into. I've played it. I have like the special edition of it, actually, because I'm a huge Warhammer nerd. But I honestly haven't liked that game too much, so I didn't really play it other than like an hour or 2. There's also the Age of Sigmar game that came out not too long ago. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like it. I don't know. I got like the special edition. It has like the season pass and everything, and I haven't touched it since it like released. So I'm sure there's a ton of DLC that I haven't really gotten into that I technically own, but it really just did not strike my fancy. I like Age of Sigmar. I like Stormcast Eternals and all of that, but the gameplay was just kind of boring. So yeah, definitely check it out though. If that's something you're interested in, maybe you'll enjoy it. I just don't. Sorry to say. There's something else on there. I cannot remember, but it was mostly just kind of those big ones, and then I think the rest was just kind of DLC for those. There's also an orc game. I think it was like Orc Pilot Sim, basically. I don't know what it was called. I didn't check it out, but there you go. If you want the bundle, that's also in it. Again, not sponsored, but I do just like Warhammer, and I like people getting good deals. So there you go. Definitely give it a look if that's your cup of tea. I think they also still have a Warhammer book bundle, which is always good. They weren't like, AAA titles or anything, but I do like most Warhammer literature, so it's something I always kind of like to point out whenever I can. Get deals on books. Reading is good. I'm actually on, I think it's like book 15, 16 of the Horus Heresy right now. It's the Space Wolf one, whatever it's called, and I'm like halfway through it, and it's really good. It was a really slow burn at the start, just because it's introducing the same character like 3 different times. He has a bunch of different names. It's kind of like John Grammaticus in a way. But once it kind of like points out who he really is and ties up the 3 characters together, it really starts getting going. Right now it's all about like Space Wolves fighting and battling, which is the best kind of literature you can get. I feel like is whenever Space Wolves are in battle. It's always a good time, and of course they say the word wolf about 50 times a page, so that's always something to look out for. But otherwise, I'm really enjoying it. I'm still reading the Caphias Kane novels. Caiaphas? I don't know. He's got such a weird name. Still reading those, really enjoying it, and I think that's about it. I'm sure there's some other book that I was in the middle of that I just kind of stopped. But that's like my big 2 right now is Horus Heresy and the Inquisitorial stuff. I am desperately trying to fill the gap or the void that the Gaunt's Ghost novels left me. Ever since I finished those, it's been rough. I really miss my ghosts. But here's hoping at some point I get more of those in the future. I'd love it. I don't really know where they take the story from here, but I'm all for it. I want more Gaunt. And as we kind of get to a head here, I don't want to make this too long, but I do like to keep these things at about 20 minutes-esque. We are just going to be kind of wrapping up with doing a nice second and a half coat. I don't want to say like a proper third coat. We're just kind of cleaning up everything that needs fixed here without doing another proper coverage. But next time we're going to be doing all the little details, his little holster, his little pistol, all the exhaust. We'll probably do a wash just to kind of bring out some of the recesses and really highlight that. I don't really have a color that I can do like an edge highlight with, so we probably won't take this to like parade standard, but we'll do our best kind of around that fact. I also do want to point out the base. I know I've already done a bunch of these videos where I use the same base just because I wasn't planning on doing all these different chapters. Originally I was going to be doing all Dark Angels, and then I kind of changed that. So I did all the bases beforehand, unfortunately. But this was done with Vallejo, I think it's called like Earth Texture, and it's obviously just the sand one. But if it's something you like, you can find it on Amazon pretty cheap. I'm sure you could find it at your local like hobby stop, game store kind of deal. But there you are. Also, something if you want to keep it like GW brand, they also have their own little technical paint. I don't know what it's called, but it's the same thing basically. It's just a sand color. So that's something that you can check out if you're into. I don't think it really blends with this dude, unfortunately, but I didn't really have any other choices. I don't have any free bases. All my free bases are going to my Cadians and my Tau, but it's fine. We'll work it out at some point. And last but not least, I just want to make sure we get the neck here and You can't really see it too well, partially because of this paint handle. It's really restricting how much I can show. It's great though. I do like having my paint handle back. But definitely make sure you get behind the neck there, kind of where the backpack is. Off camera, I'm probably going to finish this up, clean it all up, and make sure we get one solid coat. But essentially, that's our base. Again, Abaddon Black, covered in Death World Forest. Really straightforward, really simple. You could just end it there if you wanted. just make everything else black, basically. But next time we'll come back, we'll finish up, we'll do all the little details, and we'll kind of go through how to do that. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out my Patreon. It's in the description. Kind of helps me put out more videos more often. Otherwise, I have a ton of other videos on my channel, so feel free to check that out as well. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, that whole thing. It really helps me out and gives me feedback. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode.